What is up, fellows? Welcome to another expert guide here for Rome Total War. If you're new here, you're in for a treat. Basically, just go over the faction I'm covering in pretty brief details about starting positions, the settlements, their buildings, their unit roster. Go over, first turn movements, what you should be aiming for in like the mid to long term, and then of course give you like a time lapse, 20 years down the line about what you should be shooting for with these factions that I'm going over. And again, I'm going to preface this with saying these guides are meant for veteran players or people who want to learn to become better at the game. So I'm going to assume that you're going to be playing on very hard difficulty, right? With these factions and trying to min-max and trying to get better at pacing, right, with this game. That's what I'll be going over here today. Now, we are, of course, doing the Seleucid Empire. Thumbnail, of course, spoilers. So, yeah, this is one of my favorite factions to play as. They're super diverse. You can do a lot of different things with them if you're just having fun. Of course, when we're talking about min-maxing, we'll get to that in a bit about what to recruit in the early and late game, right? And what to kind of shoot for to start off. But it's a fun faction, and again, I think, just like the Roman factions, they're a bit misunderstood in how to play them, right? Of course, the Julii, you're supposed to go to Gaul, Bruttii, Greece, Scipii, Africa, right? But again, like, if you watch my Julii guide, and that's the only one that I've released so far to the Roman factions, maybe in the future, I've released other ones, and, you've already watched those, but who knows? I can't tell the future, right? But you're supposed to just take those regions and kind of go from there and declare war against the other Romans by taking Rome, right? But if you're good at the game, you can just cut them off. Alright, so if the Julii, you just cut off the Bruttii and Scipii. If you're the Bruttii, you cut off, exactly. So you get the point there, and you just expand just like Rome would, right, around Italy, rather than having to go through, your certain area that you're supposed to expand in. Seleucid Empire is misunderstood because people claim it to be one of the hardest factions, which I just disagree with, because they have such a strong start. Like, yes, they're getting attacked by multiple factions eventually, but you have the initiative, you have the troops, you have good starting armies to attack with. You're going to be in a good spot. So let's get right into it. Very hard, of course. Their short term is pretty easy. You just take out Egypt and hold 15. You're able to get that done very quickly, actually. I think in my Seleucid Empire campaign, I did it in, oh gosh, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 years, I think. So yeah, it's pretty quick when you can take out Egypt. But yeah, let's get right into it. Okay, yeah, so when you load in, you'll notice you have a decent amount of started settlements here. We have 4 kind of in this area. This is kind of one region you can set. You have Seleucia, that's kind of the eastern side of your empire. And then you have the western side of your empire, which is going to be Sardis, right? So the main focus, of course, in your campaign is going to be taking out Egypt early. So many people wait to take out Egypt and just become super defensive, and they lose money, and it's just a losing way to play the game. You need to be aggressive. That's the number one thing I'm going to preach in my campaigns and my videos, my guides, is be aggressive early and do not get complacent. Fight battles that you're not going to think that you're going to win, and try to get out of your comfort zone. That's how you get better at this game, is aggressiveness and fighting battles that you might not win all the time. Because then the more you do those battles, the more likely you are to win in the future, right? So what I'll say here is I'm going to go over the buildings first, and then I'll go over their unit roster and then troop movements and what to build in the first turn. So first, of course, we're going to look at what we have for buildings, and starting off with the shrines and temples and pantheons. So you have 3 different options as the Seleucid Empire. First one I'll go over is, oh gosh, I'm going to butcher this, Hephaestus, I believe. There we go. Nailed that one. And this is just your army temple, right? This is going to be something that you're going to want to build, I think, in Sidon. I don't think you want to build this in Antioch in any one of your settlements to start off, for a number of reasons. We'll get to that in just a second. And then we have Dionysus. This is just a temple you're never going to use. The reason because it's happiness. And Dionysus is the god of parties and love and, you know, well, maybe not love, that's Aphrodite, but basically, if you have a temple or a shrine of Dionysus and you have a general in that city, let's just say you can have some fun when he's in that city, right? And they can get negative traits. Of course, if you like drunken generals, you know, I would say go for it. It's pretty fun, you know, to use a drunken general that is crazy for their battle speeches. You know, of course, this is what makes this game iconic, right? You can fuck around. But again, we're min-maxing here. This is just not a good temple because of that. And his counterpart that you're really going to want to build pretty much everywhere, with the exceptions of like a shrine or two in some cities with Hephaestus, is going to be Asclepius. Also butchered that name, doesn't matter. This is a fucking awesome shrine and temple. Because this gives you that 5%, 5%, right? 10%, 10%. It's always increasing. Just awesome. Just the same rate as Dionysus, but it has health bonus. And health bonuses are fucking overpowered in this game, because you're always going to want to build these, you know, shrine temples pretty early on in your settlements, no matter what. Like if you get like a minor city, one of the first things you're probably going to be building to get public order under control in foreign cities is going to be temples, right? And it also helps out with population growth. That's what health bonus does, right? So if you like look at this, for example, you look at its population growth, it's 3%. If you do this, it gives you a plus 0.5%. So every 5% is 0.5% growth as well. And that can also stack to like a population boom that's also going to give you like a certain percentage boost. Like this can get pretty crazy. And this is super important because Antioch is going to be like the main recruitment center in our campaign to start off in the early game. And it's super crucial that you make sure that this population does not decrease and still makes you money, because the lower and lower your population is, the less money your people can make by trading, right, and farming. So you want to make sure that this doesn't decrease in population, but you can still recruit shit from it, right? Because we need a recruitment center somewhere that's going to dish out our armies. And Antioch is super important because it's already 5,000, it's already a city, and we can already get city barracks, no spoilers, and archery ranges from this type of city, right? So we want to focus on that right off the bat with Antioch. And I mean, what better temple to do that than this one right here? So pretty much start off, we're going to be building all of these shrines turn one. Now, of course, we can scroll up just a bit here. We have the Odeons, the Lyceum, and the Theater. I mean, just your typical Colosseum shit, right? Just, you know, twisting it on the Greeks. Simple enough. You can recruit these and build these if, you know, your foreign cities are really struggling for order after the temples, right? Because again, it's only 5%, and then 10%. It's only 5% increase, whereas this is, you know, a 10% increase each tier. Except I think, no, yeah, it's always just, yeah. And then we got your economies. I mean, never build these ever unless you're really goddamn bored and you already completed the campaign, right? Greeks can get paved roads. That's good, right? Of course, only Romans can build highways, so whoop-de-fucking-do. Paved roads are good. You want to get that pretty early on in your cities. Again, land clearance, you know how I feel about this building. It's just not good with these farms. You don't really need to build them unless you're really struggling to get population growth. And because we have this temple as well as the Seleucid Empire, we really don't need these farms. They're just not a building you ever want to build. The amount of money you get for them is kind of worthless, to be honest. And you want to build other things to get money. We're about to scroll up here and figure out what those buildings are, but sewers is interesting because, again, this is a health bonus, and the temple literally does that for you. So again, just like the, you know, farms, sewers are in the same situation, whereas you don't need to build this shit because you already have that from the temple, right? Like, you will not need to build these, like, ever in your Seleucid Empire series, which is pretty awesome. You can just ignore these two sets of buildings because of your temple. It's just that strong. So you can notice kind of your building infrastructure can get pretty, I don't know, what's the fucking word I'm using here? Your cities can get pretty big with good infrastructure very quickly in this faction. And that's what's awesome about it. Really good early, mid and late game potential here. And of course you can get a dockyard as the Seleucid Empire. Awesome shit. I mean, this is just your money-making powerhouse, you know. Your geography right now is in a pretty decent spot. The Asia Minor is rich, right? Of course, I'd say Greece is the richest, then you have Italy, and then you have Asia Minor as like your 1, 2, 3. And then Egypt kind of counts as like the Nile, but only really Alexandria and like Jerusalem and Sidon, but you'll get that pretty quickly. And I mean, your trading empire over here on the East Mediterranean is going to be insane with shipwrights and dockyards. It just is. You're going to be making a shit ton of money very quickly because you're going to be taking out Egypt quickly if you play it right. Blacksmith armor, I mean, again, you want to focus on the buildings for the units themselves first when you talk about military cities. These are kind of afterthoughts, you know, to be like, hey, once I actually got the building I want to recruit my unit from, then you can focus on blacksmiths and armors and shit like that, right? But even then, you might want to focus on the economy with things like agoras, right? Markets are good. We always want to prioritize, if we can, ports before markets. You know, of course, unless it's like landlocked or some shit, right? Then it's like tough shit. Or if it's like this city like Memphis, where it's just literally the most useless port of all time, right? But if in the Mediterranean, you want to build the port, you know, this is going to make you more money than like the market will. Of course, you want to build a trader before the port typically. You want to build a market before a ship, right? Typically, you know, that is kind of the rule of thumb there. Always want to make sure that, you know, you're doing like the same tier at the same time. So you don't want to build like a ship right before like a market, for example. It's good to get the market done first, because then the market's actually going to have enough trade for the shipwright to become more useful once you build it, right? So that's my advice there. Sometimes it's probably more efficient for you to do the dockyard against the agora. Up for debate. I would say in certain cities definitely is, with like Antioch, like, but that's just me. It doesn't really matter too much in terms of what's going to make you more money. But yeah, let's transition. Actually, let's talk about walls. I mean, they can build an epic stone wall. Cool. Guys, never build walls, ever. If I see you building walls in any one of your cities, I'm going to fucking murder you. The only wall you should be building is a palisade to make sure they can't attack you on the same turn that they besiege your settlement in. If you build any other of these walls, I'm going to murder you. Do not build walls ever, unless you have nothing else to build other than like academies or some shit. Or like farms, right? Do not build this ever. Alright, cool. Now let's get to the nitty gritty of this faction and why it's so cool. I'm going to start off with our barracks here. They have a very interesting infantry roster. You're going to do a lot of skipping around here and there. Starting off with the barracks. The barracks have the ability to recruit militia hoplites, and honestly, as a barrack unit, this is very strong. Very, very strong for a barrack. Probably the strongest in the game, except for, you guessed it, Scythia. I'm not even going to talk about that barrack unit. It's just stupid is what it is. But militia hoplite, just a very, very solid unit here. Really meant to do exactly what it is advertised as, right? It's a phalanx unit. Yes, it has poor morale, but it can really do the job against chariots, against Egypt, which is important as hell, right? Because that's what you're really going to be fighting in the early game, is Egyptian chariots. And you don't really want to fight those battles in the field, because then the chariots have the upper hand. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They can just fire arrows down at you, and these militia hoplites don't have good armor and shield, right? They just don't. It's 5 combined. It's not good. They're going to get lit the fuck up. from missile attacks in the open field. But if you get them in like a city or like a siege, right, you're going to be able to do some damage against these fuckers. And you're just going to walk right in and you can just kill them with phalanx, right? Just make sure you have a general at all times with these guys. Otherwise, they do not like fighting, and they have a tendency to run away at the sight of the enemy. So definitely make sure they have some morale bonus by including a general. Hopefully that general also has some, morale buffs, because very hard is tough. It's -8 morale. Like it's or not -8 morale, but it's +8 morale for the enemy, which is kind of insane. So yeah, difficult. And you are going to be recruiting these here and there. Typically, though, you're not really recruiting much of these in the early game. You're just using the ones that you start off with, right? And we'll get to that in a second. So that's the barracks. We'll get to the militia barracks. So you have the ability now to get levy pikemen. This is an interesting unit. Like militia hoplites, it has poor morale. The difference as well, they have very long spears and they have 240 soldiers. So they have some pros there, right? But I don't think it's worth it for a number of reasons. The first one, 240 soldiers is actually kind of something that's negative, because in the cities that you're going to be recruiting these, they're going to be large towns, right? And large towns don't have a lot of population, and you're really going to hit the population by recruiting this unit. On top of that, its stats, 6'5". Look at militia hoplites, ladies and gents, it's 5'8". So militia hoplites actually have better stats than levy pikemen, which is crazy to say, because these are supposed to be upgraded, right? Yes, they have more soldiers, which is, why they would win in a 1v1, but like, again, also very long spears, is one of the reasons why they'd win. But it's not worth it, I think. I think you just you're starting militia hoplites, and you never build levy pikemen ever, because they're just not a good unit. You never want to build a poor morale unit unless you absolutely have to, right? So don't really use this unit. It's not worth it at all, in my opinion. And then we get to the holy grail. Buff this unit. Holy fucking shit. Phalanx pikeman. 813. Has good armor. And very long spears. And 240. This is what you are trying to build in Antioch as soon as possible. You get this building, you win the campaign. And I'm not kidding. Like, you just bust out Phalanx pikemen and you just win. You just win. You cannot fuck up with Phalanx pikemen, ever. They're just one of the best infantry units of all time. Very long spears, they can basically 1v1, like noob spearmen, they can 1v1, like Nile spearmen, even like levy pikemen sometimes, like if they have like decent stats and experience, like they are just fucking awesome even on very hard. And they're just a good hold the line, eating up missile attack. I mean, they're awesome. Need I say more about Phalanx pikemen? This is the unit that you just are going to be shooting for in the early game to get immediately out of Antioch. Alright, and then we have army barracks. I have a couple gripes with this unit here. Silver Shield Pikemen. It's cool aesthetically to look at this and be like, oh my gosh, Silver Shield Pikemen. Oh, they're the best of the best, man. They're the embodiment of the Seleucid martial prowess. Fuck off. It's not worth it. First reason why they're not worth it, and the most obvious and glaring issue, is they're a 2-turn build. Whenever you see a 2-turn build, it's like, this unit better be the fucking best in the game for me to build this unit and have it be worth it. And in the case of Silver Shield Pikemen, they are so underwhelming for a 2-turn build. You can get 2 Phalanx Pikemen in the time you can get a Silver Shield Pikeman. Just think about that. And look at these stats. 813, 1014. You only have 2 extra attack and 1 extra defense. You have literally 1 more defense skill. The good thing about this unit, and what makes it like, hey, you can argue about this, I'm going to say you're stupid, regardless, is they have good morale and good stamina. Does it justify it? Nope. But it's something, right? Usually, with Phalanx Pikemen, you can have, by this point, good generals to make sure they don't rout on you by seeing the enemy, right? And they have normal morale, excuse me. So it's not the most difficult thing in the world. So yeah, Silver Shield Pikemen, not worth it ever. Just not good. And then we have the Royal Barracks. If you're a masochist or you're just fucking around in the end of your campaign, and you can build a Royal Barracks, folks. Unless you take it from Rome, which, I mean, that's always a possibility, I guess. You can get Silver Shield Legionaries, also 2-turn build, and this is just a cool unit. Paying homage to the Romans, you know. Awesome, 9 and 22, but they're not phalanx, so they're not good. You know, like, this could be like an okay unit if it was like a non-phalanx faction, and if this was at like army barracks or city barracks, but it's not. It's at royal barracks. Romans can build this unit at army barracks, and I'm pretty sure it's also 9 and 22, but like, they also, yeah, are the Romans, and they don't have a phalanx unit, so you just rely on legionaries and archers, which are crazy good for the Romans post-Marian. Not the case with the Seleucid Empire. So yeah, that's your roster for the infantry. And then we get to, I think, what's the most interesting part about the Seleucid Empire, because it's very hard to gauge as a player what you should focus on building, just because they have such a diverse roster. So I'm going to go over this a bit here in a bit more detail than I normally would. Stables can build militia cav. I'm just going to go over these right off the bat here. Cavalry stables can get Greek cav and elephants. Then with the elite cav stables, you upgrade to cataphracts and war elephants, and then royal cav, you get companion and armored. We'll start off with this militia cav unit. It is your bread and butter. I mean, just like Greek cities, just like Numidia, just like Carthage even. To start off, like, militia cavalry is a good unit. Use this unit. Do not be afraid of their stats. Yes, it's 6 and 6, but they are a cavalry unit. Cavalry is good. Also, it's a missile attack. You can really fuck up the back of phalanx by just going around, making them decide what to do. It's just a good unit to have in your army as a cavalry unit, because they're versatile. They fuck up missile attack by like skirmishers and archers, right? And they also get to kill, with your generals, horse archers, which you'll be fighting Parthia with. And also they can get sacrificed by charging chariots, if you so please, if you really run out of options there, because phalanx can't always, you know, kill that chariot, right, in the open field. So, of course, you want to avoid the situation, but, you know, when that situation does come, you can sacrifice these bad boys, because they are, exposable. You don't need to keep this unit around for too long. But it's a good early game unit. You want to be building this out of Antioch to start off. Cavalry stables. So there's always a question of what you want to prioritize as the Seleucid Empire in the early game to get death stacks going. Cav stables isn't it. It's not. So you actually see 6 and 8, you only have +2 defense on Greek cavalry, and they have no missile attack. So this is just a shitty cavalry unit. Never recruit this unit ever, because militia cavalry, in my opinion, is just a better unit. It's fast moving as well, and it has a missile attack. Don't build a Greek cav, guys. You need to say less. Elephants. This is interesting. You might have seen my Carthage campaign already. Maybe I put out a Carthage faction guide in the future, but Carthage is a faction where you actually want to build elephants pretty early on, because you don't have much to rely on as Carthage except your generals to start off. You don't have the phalanx infantry unit until army barracks, and you can get cav stables quicker as a minor city. So as Carthage, elephants are pretty decent, and you want to get those prioritized, you know, pretty quickly in either Carthage or Thapsus, and get some of this busted out, because they also are a pacing unit too. They can tear down wooden walls, which is awesome. You don't need spies for that. It's super cool. But as the Seleucid Empire, you really don't need to get elephants because you have militia cav and you need to focus on other buildings. And it's a 2-turn build. It's a 2-turn build, guys. I'd just be taking stables, militia cavalry, 2 units of that over elephants all day. Because it does a number of things as well. It lets you prioritize other things like city barracks and archer barracks. So cav, stables, and elephants, I don't think it's worth it as the Empire. Hot take, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And then we get to the elite cavalry stables. I don't foresee you building this ever, honestly, unless you take it from a foreign city. We don't need this. Yes, cataphracts is fucking awesome, and you can crucify me for saying never to build cataphracts as a Seleucid Empire, right? But you just don't need to. You don't need to, guys. Seleucid Empire is that good that you don't need to build cataphracts, right? It's going to be like a Pontus campaign, to be honest. So, yeah. 723, but it's elite cav stables. If you have nothing else to build, then sure, you can go for it. But like by this point, you have phalanx pikemen, you have archers, and you have good generals and militia cav. Cataphracts are an upgrade from militia cav, but like you're already relying on your phalanx pikemen and archers in battle. Like, you don't need cataphracts, and this is 2 units or 2 buildings of upgrades that you have to do. Because again, like I said, all you really need is stables to build militia cav. And to get to cataphracts, you got to get cav stables and an elite cavalry stable. I almost said hippodrome. That's a lot of time to invest in cataphracts. On top of that, cataphracts are 2-turn builds, guys. They're 2-turn builds. Yes, I think it's one of the few units, that is worth it to get a 2-turn build on. It's 723 because that's absolutely insane. Kind of like Legionary Cav, right, where it's worth it. But we just don't need it. We don't need to focus on prioritizing elite cav stables in our cities. And then royal cav stables, funnily enough, companion cav is actually worse than cataphracts, so this is just never build this. 1017 versus 723. Yes, they are, they have good stamina and they're faster than cataphracts, but like, come on, guys, it's cataphracts. They're just better, right? I mean, we know this for a fact. And it has, like, the war elephants and armored elephants, but, I mean, yeah. Don't need to build elephants as the Seleucid Empire, as I said before, just because by the time you get cav stables, it's never worth it. Have you got elite cav stables and you build cataphracts and not, war elephants, so, do what you please there. And the last thing I'll mention, of course, is the missile buildings, the practice ranges. Peltis, never build this goddamn unit ever. You can start off by keeping some of them in your starting armies, but, you're going to disband them pretty soon. You know how I feel about this unit, guys. If you watched any one of my videos, I am a broken record. 170 upkeep. This thing fires like 4 pieces of wood and then fucks around for the rest of the battle. Just sits there, does nothing. It's 3 and 4 melee and total defense. They're not useful. They're not useful. They kill like maybe, I don't know, 20 guys, 30 guys out of an infantry unit, and then they just fuck off for the rest of the battle. And they cost you 170 upkeep per turn. You're telling these guys to fire off 4 pieces of wood and then do nothing for each battle and just sit there, and you have to pay them for that. Not a good unit. Not a good unit. Don't do this. Don't build this unit. Not worth it. Rest my case. Alright. Now we get to the, yeah. It's archers, guys. You build archers in your campaigns. You just do. If it's available, you build archers. And you prioritize this building as a result. Always. Always, always, always. After you get, city barracks in some of your cities, you're going to be trying to get archery barracks, or archery ranges, in your cities as soon as you can. It's just a good unit. I mean, you can just sit back and let archers do their work. And the phalanx pikeman is just in the, the meat shield, and then archers just fuck everything up. I mean, it's not a hard strategy, guys. Don't overthink it. So, Onagers, slow movement, not worth it. You have spies that you can recruit, guys. Don't use this unit ever. They will only slow you down, and they also are 2-turn build, so yeah. You don't need this. Recruit spies. They're good for fog of war, and they're good for infiltrating cities, so you can just open the gates. Don't need onagers. So yeah. Now, also, I completely forgot about this, but there's also another unit that we actually have to go over, and that is the unit that you can build from getting a blacksmith, believe it or not. And that is the chariot unit that they can recruit. And chariots, when you are the player on very hard difficulty, are pretty dog shit. For the sole reason of you only have one defense, so like if they just get stuck, right, into like a pitched battle where like you like melee them and tell them to attack, they just get torn to shreds instantly. It's not a good unit. Basically, you have to, with this type of unit, if you do decide to use them, you have to just like keep on clicking and never like attack an enemy, but you just like go through them with the special attack. And you know, cavalry it works okay on, because you know that's what their bonus is, but again, it's not a good unit. And also, this is a 2-turn build, so the dog shit unit that it is now, it even got worse, believe it or not. So do not build this unit, guys. It is a waste of time and resources. Now we can talk about their starting situation. So it's an interesting one. As I said, there's kind of 3 different main regions here. The one over here, I'm going to go over this one first. Start off with Tarsus here. We're going to bring 2 guys over here into Antioch to start off. Tell this diplomat to fuck it off. Just go over here to Pontus and get a trade agreement. Sure. We're going to bring this guy down. Hatra or Hatra, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm so sorry. We're going to disband a unit of peasants. Because again, you don't need that unit of peasants, and they're just causing us upkeep. Yep. It's 100 upkeep, and it helps out with population a bit. Get this down to low. And when I say low, every single city should be low. And why would you do that, Johnny, might you ask? The reason for that is you want to focus on your population growth. And you are going to be totally fine to start off with your money, guys. You will not be running out of money anytime soon. You're going to be fine, okay? You're going to be building cheap buildings here. And you don't really need to recruit much early on. That's going to cost you a fuck ton of money in upkeep, right? You're playing this correctly. So put everything to low, focus on population growth to get these things up. You will thank me later on when your economy is absolutely booming and you have large towns and large, you know, or excuse me, minor cities throughout your empire, trading with each other. You're going to be rolling in it very quickly. Just because you have rich settlements. Something I'll mention as well. You start off with a wonder, actually. Hanging Gardens. 20% bonus to farming income. Cool. It just gives you more money. This is one of the reasons why you won't have to worry about too much your economy early on. And you can focus on low tax rate and just get population growth. The spy you can bring over here. He goes in here. Cool. 24% chance. Good luck. And getting off track here. Back to the main 4 cities. This guy over here in your Antioch, your capital. Bring out your cav. You're going to bring this guy down. This guy's going to also come down along with his infantry and 1 unit of Peltis. And he's just going to go right here. This guy's going to join here. The Peltis is going to join. This guy's going to join. And then the rest of your hoplites are going to join him. And you know, this guy will come over here, like so. And you'll have 1 peasant, 1 peasant, 1 peasant, 1 peasant. So all across there. Awesome. So that's all we're doing, is focusing everything that's not peasants down south into Egypt. Okay? Simple enough. On the east here, starting army. It's a pretty good army. It's not bad. This is just me being anal about my units here. I like to put, for whatever reason, cavalry, missile, and then infantry. I don't know why. This is what it is. I think it's because of Shogun 2. I think that's what it is, Shogun 2. But anyway, I liked it, so I took it with the Rome Total War. And you want to bring this guy right to Susa. We're not fucking around, guys. They're going to do something, actually, that I'll go over, actually, in turn 1, because I think we're going to go after... I'm going to be generous and go over that with you briefly. And disable the peasant. Okay? That's your eastern side. Your western side here is Sardis. You're going to bring this guy. You're going to go ahead and besiege that. Don't build a Baram, just chill. And you're good to go. Okay? That's starting movements. Seleucid Empire. Not difficult, guys. And, yeah. Now, last thing I'll mention is buildings. It's really complicated, guys. It's really complicated. This is actually something I thought about for a bit. This is the one thing where it's like, okay, maybe there's something else you could build. Militia barracks. Because your goal as the Seleucid Empire, right off the bat with Antioch, is to get city barracks immediately. However, we have something else to build first, and that is this. Because it gives us a very important boost to population. We want to make sure this population increases, at the very least, stays the same. We never want to see this go down, so we need to focus on Antioch and its population growth by building this shrine to start off, and then you beeline into militia barracks and then city barracks, okay? That's a strategy with Antioch here. That's tried and true, because you need to focus on population growth. You need to adjust this to low. We do not want this population going down, because the less people we have in a city, the less money it's going to make, okay? Want to make sure that this stays up. So yeah. And then these also, I mean, you just build them everywhere, man. They're awesome. They're awesome. So yeah, there you go. That's your first turn. And you'll be wondering as well, why would you besiege Halicarnassus? I mean, there's no way you're winning this.
My lord.
You actually can. I fucked this up when I did the Seleucid Empire campaign, actually. This was like one of my first campaigns I did on this channel. And if I remember correctly, I was drunk the first episode, so I wasn't really min-maxing much at all. I didn't really understand fully this faction quite yet. But you can take this out. I'll go over how to do that in just a second. And then, of course, we can get into some army comps that you'll start off with. Something I nearly forgot to go over as well is first turn recruitments. Other than just building a peasant here for garrison, we're going to need to go to Antioch. You do have the ability to, right off the bat, recruit a militia cav unit. So definitely do that. We're going to be building militia cavs to start off. You can maybe build a couple militia hoplites maybe down the line, just as phalanx defense. But again, we're really only going to be having 8 turns of recruitment times where we don't have city barracks, right? Just think of it that way, right? 8 turns where we're not recruiting phalanx pikemen. So it's going to be just a mix of militia cav and militia hoplites. But to start off, we want to be building militia cavalry in these cities so they can join this army quickly and go down south and join the faction leader here. So make sure to do that. And something as well, this boat right here. This boat is pretty fucking useless, you might say, but it actually has a very important role that we want to make sure we're taking advantage of. This boat is going to be going all the way over here around the Colossus. Say hello to the Colossus of Rhodes. And it's going to be going east into this section here, Jerusalem. What this main goal for this Byreme is going to be is once we take out Jerusalem, this boat's going to pick us up and is going to go right to Alexandria. We're not going to fuck around by just going on foot into Alexandria. I actually made that mistake in my campaign that I did when I was drunk. So don't do that, folks. Go on the boats. Use that. And besiege Alexandria right away. Because when you fight Egypt, its strength against Egypt is going to be in the field, right? They have chariots. They're going to fuck up your militia hoplites. They're going to fuck up your militia cav and your generals. It's just not a good fight in the field to go against Egypt with in the early game with the units that you have right now. So we want to focus on enclosing them, getting them into a pitched battle in the city where you can go ahead and just like bring your militia hoplites up and kill the chariots, right, of Egypt, and flank their like Nubian spearmen, right? So that's the goal early game. Do not get yourself stuck into a battle against Egypt in the field. Never going to go down well with you. So that's what I'll say for the first turn. Everything is complete here. I will go over quickly how to win this battle because I'm a nice guy. A couple things I wanted to go over as well before we get into the next turn here is I went over briefly the fact that you have the Hanging Gardens, which is great because of that farming income. We actually have a second wonder to start off with, and that is the Temple of Artemis right here. This is okay for the early game. It's actually not awful for you. This is the one scenario where it's not like one of the worst wonders because, hey, discount for, you know, buildings that we're going to be focusing on in the early game is decent. I mean, 30% off. I mean, we're going to be getting more gold from that, so we can use to buy units with. So it's actually not awful here. But usually my rankings, you know, especially if you're in like the mid to late game, like this is one of the worst wonders to get. Doesn't really do anything. You already are, you know, pretty rich by that point. Doesn't really affect much anyway, because like you're just buying like shrines and temples, which are already super, you know, cheap. I mean, they're dirt cheap, like 400 denarii, right? So it's going to start off with as the Seleucid Empire, because you are going to be building shrines and temples, and you can focus on other things like building units and not having to worry about your economy too much, which is good. And then of course you'll be getting Mausoleum pretty quick with besieging Hyrcanassus, which we will get, of course. And this is, I mean, one of the best wonders in the game. I think it's, gosh, probably the second best. I think the Colossus is the best. I mean, the Colossus is insane. I mean, it's just 40% naval trade, which is a crazy bonus to have for your economy if you have a lot of ports in the Mediterranean. So you want to get this somewhat soon. But good wonder, not really relevant in the early game too much, but you know, once the mid to late game hits, you're going to be thanking God you have this wonder. It's very good and makes your infrastructure and pacing just so much quicker. And something else I wanted to mention as well is just what your goals are to start off with the western side, because of course with the middle unit, right, in the eastern, you're killing Parthia, you're killing Egypt, right? But we also have factions that we haven't really gone over yet. Pontus, Armenia, and the Greek cities. Something that will happen on this side is the Greek cities, and probably Pontus as well, will come down and take Sardis and go for Tarsus. That's just an inevitability. It's going to happen. We can't avoid it. But that's okay. What you might end up doing is just sacrificing Sardis and Hyrcanassus for the short term. They're just not good towns. They don't do much for us except have these two wonders, but even though they're not the best right now, so it's not really that much of a hit if you lose these settlements, right? Because you want to just take Hyrcanassus, you know, get the money in the meantime, get it up to a large town, right? And then just use your general, just get the fuck over here, right? Over back to Tarsus and regroup at Antioch. Because what this army is going to be doing, right, with all these guys, are going to be going down to Egypt and taking out Sidon, Jerusalem, and then the Nile, right? And then they also will be building units in Antioch, right? And starting around turn 3, we're going to be building armies that are going to be focusing on what's coming up against Pontus, right? So we're going to be building some militia cap and maybe a couple hoplites here and there out of Antioch before we get the city barracks to deal with the Pontus armies that are eventually going to come over, and maybe some Armenia armies that are going to be coming down over to Hatra. But you can honestly ignore Hatra. It's not too big of a deal if you lose that from Armenia. If it happens, it happens. Don't worry about it. But it is something you will have to address at some point soon, because of course this army shouldn't have any problem going over to Susa and then up here to take out Parthia, and then you can kind of just like continue the gauntlet with this army and just keep going west and just take out these Armenian cities, right? So you don't even have to attack them from Antioch and Hatra and come up this way.
just use this army to do the gauntlet up here, go north and then west into Armenia, and you can have the Antioch army eventually just defend maybe Hatra, defend Tarsus, and then once it, you get some phalanx pikemen, you start going up and killing Pontus, and then by that point you probably will have Sardis and Hyrcanassus taken. Who cares? You can just use this army from Antioch with phalanx pikemen to just keep going west and taking out all the Asia Minor again, and you're gonna be good to go, right? And that's kind of the goal with your early game strategy with the Seleucid Empire. Ignore these 2 settlements. Don't build any units on them. Just to build up their economy, get them to large towns quickly, and then you can retake them later. Back to the Pantheons real quick. 99% of the time you're going to be building this. Asclepios, right? And I did say Dionysus, isn't the best. Its happiness doesn't really help out with corruption, and they're just not that good because they don't have that health bonus, that population boom. But when it comes to the Nile, when it comes to Alexandria, Memphis, and Thebes, you actually want to build Dionysus there. Just don't keep your generals in there, right? Just build Dionysus. Tell them to fuck off. They can be recruitment centers, that's fine, right? But just don't keep your generals in there, because we cannot build Asclepios in like Thebes or Memphis or Alexandria, because the population growth on the Nile is already insane. Like, it is complete overkill if you build these temples in the Nile. Complete overkill. You do not need to do that. You're only going to hurt yourself with squalor if you decide to do that. I mean, it's just not needed, and your city is going to grow way too much. And they're going to be like 50k, people in like Alexandria. It's not going to be good. So avoid Asclepios in the Nile, but everything else, build this temple. Because by the time you take like Rome, Italy, regions, and Greece, like you want, Asclepios there. Even like Patavium, like you're gonna probably exterminate it. Like you're good. It's the late game. You're not gonna have it for too long. It's not gonna grow that much, so you're fine to build the health bonus there. But yeah, just wanted to mention that before we move on here.
Everyone say hi to the Colossus over here, and also the Greek Navy. Such a cool detail. This is why I love this game, because it has little snippets like that. But yeah, oh my gosh, as you can see, we're fighting the battle, and they have sallied out, and all we have to do here is run away with these guys. We're going to start shooting at us in just a second, and route 1 unit, and all you have to do is charge into these archers right here, and we will quickly win the battle. I'm just going to keep running this way. These guys will eventually retreat, hopefully. They should, because they're fucking Cretan archers against a general. And we'll say, something about this campaign that does make it difficult as well is the Greek generals do suck. They are the worst general you can possibly have in all of the factions combined. So that is disappointing, of course. But yes, here we go. They are now routing. And as a result, they're going to start running away. We're going to make sure that they don't actually route or come back, which they just did. It's unfortunate. We're going to make sure they die again. And these guys are going to keep on running that way. And okay, now we're good to go. We're just going to come over here now. Quickly follow them, and this battle just became elementary, folks. They go in here, and yeah, it doesn't even matter what these guys do, because now we have the city. Yeah, so we have the city, and now you just take all the gates. There you go. There's that gate. And now we just get this gate. Cool. And then you get this gate. And whoop-de-fucking-do, folks. folks, we have taken Larkinassus, and yeah, this is what happens. They just like, oh fuck, oh my god, I can't get in the city. Oh my god, what do we do? Oh no, yeah, and then they literally just, their brains just malfunction. The AI is just fucking processing overload right now. They have no idea what the hell just happened. So yeah, I'm waiting for the time to run out, and you got a battle. And now you have Larkinassus. Congrats. Yeah, so we'll go over turn 2 just briefly here before we discuss I'm such a nice guy. Again, you want to keep bringing this guy down over here. So just got Larkinassus. We're just going to recruit a peasant here, get that to low, building that. These guys are going to go back up. They can actually disband in Sardis here. We don't need this unit anymore. And you're going to build trader. And for the most part, we're going to be building traders elsewhere as well, because they help out with income and growth. Two good things. I'm not going to build a temple here. We're going to build a militia barracks. We're just going to go beelining it to city barracks, just like we said we would. Trader here, and also a land clearance. This is a rare time we were building a land clearance here to help out with population growth. And after that, we'll build a palisade. And then trader here as well. So yeah, recruitment. Just build that. So, over here, going for Sidon. Again, just like we said we would, right? Bringing this militia cav over, this guy over. This guy's gonna come join soon, and you'll be taking Sidon next turn. And something that always happens as well, you'll probably notice, is 100% of the time, they split up their troops. I don't know why the fuck they do this, but Parthia is stupid, and they bring out this unit right here. It's a separate army, and it's a very winnable battle. It's just 3 units of horse archers and 2 units of slingers. You just use your cavalry to kill the horse archers quickly. Horse archers are stupid. You can win this battle easily. I won't do this. This is up to you now. You're on your own. The one battle I wanted to go over is Larkinassus, because people always tell me, oh my gosh, how do you do that? That's how you do it. And yeah, you're basically all set, and this is where we go end scene. So have fun with this, folks. It's pretty fun to do this campaign aggressively. So I will now go over those starting early game armies. Again, it's going to look something like this, but I'll show you how to kind of manage this type of army against Egypt. Alrighty, folks, so this is basically going to be your early game Seleucid Empire army. Now, I just queued up a custom battle here. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have a city where it has like wooden walls, so I'm just using this as an example. But you're probably going to be fighting Egypt, a bunch of chariots and shit, right? And all you really have to do, right, is go ahead and get inside the settlement by using that phalanx, right? Use your militia cav for the missile attacks to start off. Kill that phalanx like against the walls, right? And then just bring them in. And you should be able to just isolate the chariots inside the cities. And that goes for, you know, horse archers too. It's the same deal with Parthia, right? You really don't want to be fighting these battles with this army composition in the field, right? So avoid that against Egypt, as we said a million goddamn times. You can get away with it against Parthia, like that first battle, for example, just because horse archers aren't that strong when, you know, it doesn't have a general in the unit. So that's what I'll say there. Focus on fighting your battles in cities. That's where your strength of your early game army is going to be. So yeah. Alrighty, folks, so this is going to be your late game army, the ultimate death stack as the Seleucid Empire. This is what you fucking want, okay? The golden rule, I think, is 8 and 8. What that basically means, 8 archers, 8 phalanx pikemen. Okay, the rest can be whatever the fuck you want. I mean, you're probably going to have a couple militia cav left over, maybe a couple generals here and there. Maybe it's all generals, like a 4 stack of generals, so it doesn't matter. Right, as long as you have 4 units of cav, you can use to general snipe and kind of take out the other person's cav. You know, this is going to be enough, right? 4 units of cav is almost always enough to take out whatever the fuck the enemy has with their cavalry and their militia units, or missile units, excuse me. And yeah, all you have to do is just, you know, as we said, general snipe. You can go on the side here. Just pick a side for your generals and cavalry to go to, and you just let the archers sit behind your phalanx pipe and let them do work. Again, this is going to be the toughest army that we'll probably be facing in the late game, is, you know, Greek fucking armored hoplites, because archers are a bit useless there. But you can use your cav in those types of battles, right? Utilize your skills that you've had in other factions, right? But I mean, nothing is getting past this shit, right? A little help from cavalry fighting in the back, and it's just GG's. So, yeah, these are your late game stacks, and also you're going to be recruiting Sidon too to get these guys up. So, more experience and more attack. Alrighty, folks. So I'm just rolling some footage essentially from the Seleucid Empire campaign that I did early on, and this wasn't even min-max. This wasn't even that strong of a campaign, I think. We made a pretty decent amount of mistakes, but I mean, look at that stack right there. I mean, you can see exactly what I was going for, right? So that definitely looks pretty strong. I have all the Asia Minor, took out Egypt, right? The whole eastern side is mine, and it's 254 BC, right? So I'm sure if you guys did this campaign, you might even, you know, beat me to this spot as well. I think if I were to play this again, this campaign, I think my time would be even better than this. I think maybe I can get this by like 257, 258 BC, if I might say so myself. But yeah, you can clearly see I am chilling right now. I just stabilized the whole situation. I'm busting out massive death stacks from Antioch now, and Sidon, and I even have recruitment centers over in Pergamum. We're really just chilling at this point. So I have a decent navy at this point as well that I'm about to build. Everything's just kind of geared up towards invading Greece. So yeah, this is kind of the timeline and the pace you can go for with these this faction. But yeah, really hope you guys have enjoyed watching this faction guide here. Of course, definitely let me know in the comments what you think. Anything I missed, definitely tell me. But that's going to do it for this faction guide here. As always, thanks for watching. Don't subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.